Thomas the Tank Engine, Percy Gordon and, of course, the Fat Controller. Those characters have been loved by generations of children ever since the Reverend Audrey first told the stories to his son, Christopher. But getting a more inclusive makeover coming up right now.
Oh, yes, please. This is so exciting. Wait, I have an idea. Your driver could pick some of that long grass over there and use it to guide her away from the tracks. 2 engines are much better than 1, you know.
Nia was right. Everyone needs help sometimes. We're so lucky Nia has joined the steam team on Sodor.
Well, that's Nia, one of the new engines coming to Thomas and Friends. With me is the producer of the series, Ian McHugh. Thank you very much for coming in.
Morning.
The reason, of course, we're talking about Thomas is because you are engaged in what's a fairly dramatic revamping of the characters and the whole location setting, not just Sodor anymore.
Absolutely. This is the biggest relaunch that Thomas has had. It's a huge revamp. The show's always had sort of, evolved from its first early sort of publishing through to the live action. And then in 2010, the CGI animation started. So there's always been sort of, it's been evolving over years, but this is now the biggest change. And it stemmed with some early research that we did. Where we reached out to different countries, parents, mothers, children, to sort of find out what it is they like about the show and what is it they feel could be improved. And there was one little soundbite that came from a little boy that said, "Trains go places. Thomas is a train, but he doesn't go anywhere." And we thought, that's a good point.
It's a fair
so
point,
that
actually,
really
isn't
kind
it?
of
Yeah.
set up the discussion to, well, let's think about Thomas going around the world. And the first Reverend Audrey book that spoke about Thomas introduced him to his son and said, "I want you to meet Thomas the Tank Engine, who wants to come out of his station yard and see the world." So we kind of thought, well, 73 years late, but let's take him around the world. So that's what we're doing.
It's a great way to freshen up the series as well, because presumably that gives you a kind of a proper story-based reason for new characters coming in and for characters who have very different backgrounds culturally to Thomas.
Yeah.
And yet you're still doing it against the backdrop of this culture of the steam train, which, however much it may be loved, is part of history.
It is, yeah. It's a sort of very iconic, the sort of heritage sort of side to Thomas is very important to us. And we always remember that, the Reverend Audrey was always writing about a real working railway. But yes, we want to make it relevant for today's audience. So adding that diversity, the gender equality to the show, we feel is very important for our young audience. But whilst we try and retain that sort of modern makeover, we want to retain the sort of the world of steam. So we wouldn't have, for instance, Fat Controller pull out a mobile phone, but we would like the idea of Thomas travelling around the world, seeing new countries, new locations, learning new cultures. He is the eyes and ears of our audience.
Do you have those sort of arguments in script conferences where somebody puts in an idea in script and somebody says, actually no, because that sort of jars with the setting?
I wouldn't say we have arguments, but yes, no, I mean, sometimes people want to sort of push things a little bit further, and we want to sort of retain some integrity. We're making a lot of changes at the moment, but all the changes that we chose from the research were things that we believed worked for Thomas.
Because I think perhaps people don't kind of always appreciate that the amount of attention to detail that goes into children's programmes is as much, sometimes if not more, than goes into programmes aimed at an adult audience, because you have a real sense of responsibility, don't you, for the kind of messages you're putting out to kids?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a railway consultant that works with us on the show to ensure that we're sort of doing the right thing. But of course, our main goal is to entertain our young audience, make great story, because it all started with great storytelling, and that retains in the show. But I think with the changes we're making, we always think about real engines. So all our CGI designs of engines are based on real engines. So Nia, who is voiced by Yvonne Grundy that you saw in the clip, that engine is based on an East African Railway ED1. So it is an engine,
so this is
steam
an engine
locomotive that actually
in that
existed.
part of
Yes,
Africa.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we try to retain that. So again, it's all about sort of keeping some integrity to the show, but while making it work for a sort of a wider audience. It's a huge global audience that Thomas has. So the
How many
idea
countries is it seen in?
I think there's over 100 countries that it plays in. It's dubbed in over 40 languages. And I think for us, there's an element of, if we can sort of take Thomas to India and take Thomas to Africa and to all these other wonderful countries, it allows that audience to enjoy.
Let's just listen to the title as a moment. Oh, we got sound on this. Here we go.
Let's go, 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 explore with Thomas and his friends. Let's go, 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 and meet new friendly faces. The world's just a train ride.
There we are. That's some of the new look here. When will we see the first episodes?
The first episode is going to be aired this Monday on Channel 5 Milkshake at 7 a.m, I believe. So I'll certainly have my recorder ready for it, and I hope everyone else does. But as you saw there, we have this amazing new theme song, because we thought with all these wonderful changes that we're making, we can't go out with the classic theme song. We've got to have a new song that really captures Thomas's global adventures and also the new energy and the pace of the show. You know, we really want to sort of make it a relevant show for today's audience.
So more fast-paced, but still the gentle age of steam.
Absolutely.
Good, lovely. Thank you very much. Ian McHugh, pleasure to meet you. Thank you so
Thanks
much
so
for
much.
the work you're doing.